To our 131st annual general meeting. My name is Ron Smith, president of your chamber, and today I am joined by our staff members Sherry Martell, who's the executive director, Jessica Netsky, who's the office coordinator, will be recording the minutes of today's meeting, and Chelsea Weatherby, our events coordinator, assisting with the organization of today's meeting. I'd also like to take a moment to thank and introduce our executive and board. We have Joanne McCrae, who is our past president, Matthew Mossman, our vice president, George White, our solicitor, and our board members, Carol Fisher, Nancy Johnstone, Phil Smith, Heidi Sponigal, Vonda Hazard, Bob Brown, Sam Abusanoff, Christian Thompson, Peter Thiessen, Julie Taylor, and Doug McGinnis. And again, I'd like to thank them all for their service and dedication to the board. At this time, I would like to call for a brief moment of silence. We always acknowledge chamber members that are no longer with us. This year, we'd like to include the community members which are no longer with us. And if we just observe a moment of silence, please. And I thank you very much for that. Moving on with business, an agenda for the 131st annual general meeting has been included with the annual report booklet. Is there anything anyone would like added to the agenda at this time? And in this case, hearing and seeing none, then I would like to call for a motion for the approval of the agenda for our annual general meeting.
I'll make that motion, Ron. Joanne McCrae.
Thank you, Joanne. May I have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second that.
And someone state a name, please. Seconder was it George?
Yeah, well, there were two of us at the same time.
Okay, we're going to record George White as the seconder on this motion. So, any question? The vote is now going to be posted. And polling is open. Please pass your vote. Okay, share the results. And the motion is carried. We have an approved agenda. Also, the minutes of the 130th annual general meeting were included in the annual report booklet also. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes of the 130th annual general meeting?
I'll approve that, Ron. Doug McGinnis.
Thank you, Doug. Do I have a seconder?
Bill Smith, second.
Thank you, Phil. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any questions prior to going to vote? Hearing none, the vote is now going to be posted. One can please cast their vote. And we'll post the results here. And the motion is carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising from the previous AGM minutes that folks would like to discuss? Hearing none, I'm actually just going to allow the meeting to continue. We're going to move on to reports. And first on the list is yours truly, the President's report. It has been included in the package also. I'm going to attempt to not bore you and read it word for word. I've been Fortunate enough to be president here for the last couple of years. And it's a strange year, obviously, to be presiding over an AGM. Pandemic, tragedy, things that we have never ever encountered. With that being said, I've actually never been prouder to be part of the chamber. Like many, I guess, for the last 15 years or so, I've been aware of what the chamber does in theory. But as you begin to volunteer and become part of it, you actually get to see the inner workings and you start to realize what takes place behind the scenes. So just like the rest of the globe, people in this area have gone through unprecedented change, and it has affected some people in ways that they'll never get over. But the resilience and innovation is what I'd like to salute, and what I've seen from the Chamber Executive Director, Sherry, and our staff, the dedication and the willingness to make some changes and alter our course, and in order to get things done and support business, which is what we're here for. 1 year ago, almost to the day, we were sitting here with the president of the Canadian Chamber, Perrin Beatty, probably raising a glass and a fork and really enjoying ourselves. And now I'm standing in front of you in a camera, assuming that nobody's throwing anything at me. Immediately, the chamber last year altered its course and took on a completely different role. There were government announcements, Department of Health announcements, funding announcements. Where do you look? Where do you find PPE? What the heck is PPE? And who locally had it? We took on that role in updating our website, making an easy repository of where to find the resources to help business carry on the best they could. You know, well known for our lunches and having people in to offer training and guidance, that all went away. You couldn't meet in person. You couldn't sit down and have lunch together. So they came up with a very creative way of having people meet one-on-one. Bring your own lunch to a Zoom event. For those that didn't know what Zoom was, I was one of them. And I still struggle with my microphone. Hopefully somebody out there did today too also. Makes me feel better. And it was a real game changer, you know, to know that businesses that are in excess of 100 years old and celebrated our anniversaries with us are doing things differently, including online shopping and virtual presence. And you kind of have to adopt to survive, and there was no two ways about it. On that vein, I mean, one of the great things that happened last year was $40,000 was acquired to help get businesses online. And it was amazing to see some of the new websites and to have consultants working with local businesses that maybe never had an online presence or a bare minimum. And it's accepting the fact that the world is changed. And there's an awful lot of brown boxes being delivered to people's doorsteps these days. And the Truro businesses that we support need to be part of that. Staycations. Well, there's a new term. I think 2020 is the year for new terms. Staycations. We were actually successful in organizing with our local partners $75,000 in tourism support to help promote Explore Central website. Those of you who have never actually opened it up and had a look, please do. It's completely centered on this area and explaining to people why we have great things to offer and why they should come in this area. You know, there are a lot of great things that took place, and I've tried to touch base on the fact that I've been completely amazed by working with our board, other individuals, and understanding that a group of people with a broad range of backgrounds, different perspectives, can come together to help tackle an issue or a problem and hopefully find a way forward. And that's the one thing I'm going to take away more than anything is the enjoyment that I got from that. And you know, especially in the last 3 or 4 months with regional economic development and the pilot program that began 3 to 4 years ago, the TCPEP, and the overwhelming support from our businesses. And we sat down and talked with over 30 of them in person, Zoom, Skype, on the phone, and overwhelming support for that continued regional approach to marketing and promoting of this area, an area that people and businesses are so proud of. And I think your real estate prices are going to indicate other people are starting to discover from around the country and around the world what we have had to offer and managed to keep secret for maybe way too long. With that being said, we are going to welcome a new president and a new board today. I'd just like to say thanks, acknowledge all the hard work, the creative, collaborative spirit that continues to propel the Truro Colchester region towards new heights. And thank you. With that, I actually have to call for a motion for the adoption of the president's report, including all grammatical errors. And do I have someone to call that motion?
Christian Thompson.
Thank you, Christian. Do I have a seconder for the motion?
I'll second
Erin
that.
Barkley. Oh,
Sorry.
Thank you, Aaron. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any questions? Hearing none, we're going to post the vote. Please take a moment and fill in the poll. We're going to pop up the results, and the motion has carried. At this time, I have the distinct pleasure of welcoming our Executive Director back to the podium to deliver her report, and I hand it over to Sherry.
Hello again, everyone. Our chamber is a family, and it's so nice to see so many of you coming out to support us today. I say coming out, but being here virtually with us, we certainly feel the appreciation that you are giving us today, and we hope that we return that in all of our actions. I'd like to begin today by welcoming you again to our AGM, the first in our tenured history to be held online. It has been a wild year. We have learned so much. We have listened and we have acted to support you, our members. I offer my sincerest thanks and appreciation to our executive team, our current president, Ron Smith, who was brave enough to stay in his role for a second term, despite knowing we were in a pandemic. Our fellow executives, Matthew, Joanne, and George. Their exceptionally strong leadership has contributed greatly to the organization during the past year as we navigated a global pandemic together, which has kept us under a state of emergency for more than a year. In the months following the onset of the pandemic, the executive committee met every 2 weeks to ensure that the fast evolving needs of our businesses were being addressed. There were many other business leaders in this community who took time to offer additional support to our staff and our board as we put our feet back beneath us, dusted off, and set a new course with new rules. I am so grateful to all of you who have supported us in the past year and the years before. Our board will look much different today after today's AGM. To all those that have stepped away from their current positions for personal reasons or their terms have expired, I thank you for your contribution to your community now and in past years. Many of us have experienced unprecedented difficulties. To our potentially 9 new board members, thank you for stepping up to serve your community, and I look forward to working with each of you. To our staff, Jessica and Chelsea, thank you. I know there have been some difficult days in the past year. We finished the spectacular of last year's AGM, then basically locked up the office, grabbed everything we could grab, and we went home and we worked. To be clear, those days at home were not a break, but they were rather like a tornado each day, spinning out of control and tossing new hazards our way as we learned to duck and react. You were 2 of the hardest working women I have ever had the pleasure of knowing. You are fearless, determined problem solvers that shone like stars, taking on every challenge thrown at you with confidence and a positive attitude that we can do this together. Looking back over the past 12 months, it seems like it passed in a blink. 2020 feels like the year that never happened. But we know that COVID-19 has left a mark on our community for many years to come and in many different ways. As members, We want you to feel incredibly proud of the accomplishments of your chamber in what was one of the most challenging years in our history. However, this is not the first pandemic your chamber has survived through with the Spanish flu in the area in the 1900s, nor do we expect it to be our last. I have included much more detail in my executive director's report that was in the package sent to you, and I will share some highlights now, but I do encourage you to read the report for those details. In the past year, the Chamber has spearheaded 4 special projects that, when combined, is an investment of about $225,000 directly supporting your community in 1 year, not including our regular Chamber program. These accomplishments were achieved by forging strong relationships with our business community and our many partners. And I'm going to name a few of them now that have contributed tremendously to our organization in support of the business community in the past year and years before. The Downtown Truro Partnership, Ontario Financial, Bell Media, Tourism Nova Scotia, ACOA, the Truro Colchester Partnership for Economic Prosperity, the Town of Stewiacke, Town of Truro, Village of Bible Hill, the Municipality of Colchester County, Millbrook First Nation, CBDC Noble, FutureWorks, and the Colchester Historium, just to name a few. There are many more, and we thank you for your commitment to our business community. Together with our partners, we provided COVID-19 relief and assistance to restart, while continuously providing accurate, timely information and resources to support business. We were even able to host 25 events last year, some in person, some online, and we are now using the word hybrid as we do combinations of both. We celebrated our 130th anniversary with a garden party and a display at the Colchester Historium that helped us capture our history in a more concise way. With mixed emotions and a long relationship with the Marigold Cultural Center, we moved our office to a new location at 105B Walker Street. Not only did this move create some much needed space for our chamber office operations now with 3 full-time staff, we were able to establish a chamber collaboration center. This center has a boardroom and a spare office for the use of our members at no cost in 2021, generously sponsored by Wilson's Heating. We are pleased to share that this space is being used regularly, and we invite our members who have not had an opportunity to see it yet to stop by. We ended the year with a strong membership of 454, down slightly from the previous year. We amplified the voice of business loudly, your voices, seeking supports and resources for you. We advocated on a number of issues, from jobs lost due to federal contracts, greater support for developers, assistance for small business, improved rural internet, lower taxes, support for trade enabling infrastructure, additional support for our hardest hit sectors, restaurants and tourism, and more. While the pandemic continues, we must turn our attention to recovery and helping our business community rebound. So how will we actively work on the Chamber's vision in the year ahead that the Colchester business community be collaborative, connected, and thriving? We will strengthen our Chamber, already the 2nd largest in the province, by aggressively promoting the value of membership and increased benefits. We will continue to promote regional tourism through our Explore Central project and work with businesses to increase their online presence. We have received funding from the Community Health Board to work with our partners to assist business in developing healthy workplace wellness plans. We will continue to work with Tourism Nova Scotia to support our frontline visitor information centers, and our board has committed to providing the same level of funding as previous years to our Truro Colchester Partnership for Economic Prosperity. Further, we are excited to announce that in partnership with the Truro Colchester Partnership for Economic Prosperity, we are investing more than $87,000 in 2021 in projects currently under development to address workplace gaps in trades and physician recruitment. The Chamber, on behalf of our members, will once again offer 3 $1,000 scholarships to local schools. And we will be providing a legacy award this year that was put on hold last year of the $2,500 cash prize for a new business. We will feature our members in our newsletter, promote them within our resources, and seek out new ways to increase benefits. We will host events and workshops to help you make connections to build your business. We will continue to live up to our reputation as a recognized voice for business in this region on matters of political, economic, and social importance at all levels of government. We will reach these goals by listening to you, by acting in your best interest, strengthening existing partnerships, and welcoming new ones that support our collective vision. We hope that you will join us on Team Chamber on the journey ahead as we navigate 2021. Thank you.
I thank you very much for a very passionate and informative report, Sherry. At this time, I call for a motion for the adoption of the Executive Director's report. Can I have someone put forward that motion, please?
Julie Taylor.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a seconder?
Karen Bailey.
Thank you, Karen. Is there any discussion on the motion? Are there any questions? If not, we're going to launch the polling and the vote. And vote is now posted and the motion is carried. I thank you very much. The next copies of the audited financial statements are in the annual report booklet. And I am going to ask Allison Butcher from Grant Thornton to present the audited financial statements for the chamber. Do we have you, Allison?
Is that her? There's somebody trying to. She was here.
Yeah, no, we were speaking to Allison. We tested things earlier.
Hello?
Hi, would this be Allison?
Yes.
Hi, Allison, how are you? Okay, we are all ready for you when you are.
Perfect.
Okay, take it away.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for having me present the statements today at the AGM for the Chamber. So I will start with the Auditor's report. So we have it up on screen. So this year, common with every other year, we've issued a qualified opinion on the financial statements. And with not-for-profit organizations, you'll see this opinion given when there are fundraising revenues or donation revenues, and our audit procedures, we can't get sufficient appropriate audit procedures around the completeness of that revenue just due to the nature of it. So aside from the qualification on the fundraising revenues, there were no issues identified as part of our audit procedures. So the next page we'll look at in the audited financial statements is the statement of revenues and expenses. So this year the Chamber had $270,000 in revenue. You'll see that membership fees, insurance commissions, the money paid to the Regional Enterprise Network, the TCPEP, were all very consistent with the prior years. What you'll notice in the statements this year, with the pandemic affecting everybody, is the next couple lines. So there's government assistance there for $66,000, and other earnings decreased for the year. So they were sitting at just over $28,000, almost $29,000. Expenses are very consistent with the prior year. They totaled $188,000 this year, so slightly up from last year due to the salaries and benefits. So this year, Sherry was fortunate to have 2 full-time staff with her for the year, to see an increase there. And then a few decreases because of the pandemic. Again, you'll see some minor decreases there in the expenses. The next section in the Statement of Revenues and Expenses is the special project expenses. So again, this was impacted significantly by COVID. You'll see that there's really not much there this year, with the exception of the money paid out to the TC PEP and the scholarship money. So overall, for the year, the total excess of revenues over expenses was $39,773. So the next page that we'll look at is the Statement of Financial Position, so your balance sheet. Total assets for the Chamber this year come to $371,933, so up from last year, 2019, and that's mainly due to the cash and cash equivalents. So there's money sitting in deferred revenue for projects that had to be deferred until after the pandemic, and the Chamber can do that work and recognize that revenue and spend it, as well as the CEWS money that was received in the government assistance. Total liabilities this year are also up, so they're sitting at $159,189. So as I mentioned, you'll see the unearned revenue sitting there is up. It's sitting at $121,706, and that's for money that was received and restricted for future use and future projects. And then the other item you'll see in your liabilities is long-term debt. So that is the non-forgivable portion of the CEBA loan, which leaves us with total net assets for the year of $212,744. So that's the Statement of Financial Position. The next statement in the financial statements that we'll take a look at is the Statement of Cash Flows. And this breaks down where the cash came from and where it went to during the year. Overall, you'll see there was a net increase in cash of just under $94,000. So cash from operations was $31,316, and the change in your working capital brought that total to cash in for the year of just under $61,000. Proceeds of the CEBA loan were $40,000 in, and then investing, there was $6,990 of cash going out. So there were some assets that were acquired this year as part of the move to the new location, sitting in there. Then you'll also see down below that $73,738 of that cash is restricted for future use for some tourism initiatives and the TC PEP. So those are the face of the statements. I won't go through all the notes, but they are available for any of the members to review. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Allison. Are there any questions at all from the floor regarding the financial statements that were just delivered by Allison? If there are no questions, I'm going to call for a motion to accept the financial statements.
Ron?
Yes.
Yes, Don Terrio. I had a question. I'm sorry I'm getting in late on this, but Regional Enterprise Network, what is that? Just in the first page that Allison was reading. What is the Regional Enterprise Network?
The Regional Enterprise Network is also known as the Truro Colchester Partnership for Economic Prosperity. And when the provincial government abandoned regional economic development approximately 7 years ago, this area was without regional economic development until approximately 3 years ago. And it took a couple of years through the local businesses and the chamber to develop a model which is partnered with the municipalities, Millbrook First Nation, and the province of Nova Scotia to afford regional economic development again under the name of the REN or the TCPEP. And the chamber are the stewards of the funds that disperse on behalf of the local private businesses, of which there were 48, that disperses them for the operating budget of the REN. And it has been taking place for 3 years and is continuing into the next number of years, we believe. Next year for sure. Yep.
Good.
Does
Thank
it
you.
answer the question?
Absolutely, Ron.
No problem. Thank you very much, Don. Are there any other questions, folks? Anything at all? Hearing none at this point, may I have a motion to accept the audited financial statements as presented?
Joanne McRae.
Thank you, Joanne. May I have a seconder?
George Overpiller.
Can you repeat the name, please?
George Overpiller.
Oh, thank you very much. And the vote is now being posted. Can you please signify yes or no? And we'll now show the results, and the motion is carried. I thank you very much, and thank you again, Allison, for your presentation. Next on the list, we're moving into committee reports, and at this time, I am going to turn the podium over to Matthew Mossman to deliver the first committee report on policy. I thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Mossman, and I am the chair of the Policy Committee. The Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce Policy Handbook currently includes 7 policies, and those include tourism, government relations, economic development, transportation and infrastructure, addressing entrepreneurship, mental health, membership, and human resources. And these really do form the foundation of our chamber to allocate resources to advocate for the benefit of the business community. These policies stand for 2 years, once voted upon by the membership at the AGM, and the policy book was reviewed by the committee in 2020. And it was determined each of the policies would continue to be actively addressed by the chamber. The policy book will be tabled again in 2022 to be approved by the membership. Along with addressing the issues outlined in our policy book, during the past year, your chamber was very active addressing our policies with extensive work done by the staff and the board to address issues and advocacy around COVID-19. The chamber quickly diverted from its business plan, adopting and realigning its resources to support the sometimes overwhelming needs of the business community during such a turbulent time. A new section of the website was added to provide accurate, up-to-date, relevant information for business. Advocacy efforts were wide-ranging, addressing each of the policies with a great effort made towards supporting business during COVID-19, and later in the year, lobbying for support in recovery. During the past year, we were pleased to offer government at all levels feedback on bylaws, acts, and regulations impacting business, partner with them to support our business community, and look forward to working together in the future for the benefit of our economy. In 2021, our chamber will act to renew its national policy addressing entrepreneur and employee mental health, which was adopted by the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in 2018. The policy will remain as a national action item for 3 years before being renewed, or it falls off the policy books. Our chamber was proud to make history tabling this policy that was the first ever mental health related policy action by the Canadian Chamber organization. Work has already begun for us to prepare for that event at the Canadian Chamber of Commerce AGM at the end of October. As chairman of the policy committee, I look forward to continuing to work with the community leaders across a variety of sectors to identify policy priorities for the chamber to advocate on behalf of its members. And I would like to ask if there's any, would like to ask for a motion to accept the policy committee report, please.
It's George, I so move.
Thank you, George. Can I have a seconder?
Christian Thompson.
Thank you. Any questions from the floor? I see we have our poll up. And the vote is now being posted. And it looks like the motion is carried. Thank you. Now in our program, I'm going to turn it over for the nominating committee, and will Joanne McCrae, chairwoman of the nominating committee, please report on behalf of the committee.
Thank you, Matthew. My name is Joanne McCrae, and I am the chairwoman of the nominating committee for the Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce. Our committee's mandate is twofold. We are charged with nominating a slate of directors and officers at the annual general meeting and conducting the election of officers and directors at the same meeting. On behalf of the nominations committee, I nominate the following for the 2021-2022 chamber year. President, Matthew Mossman. First Vice President, Karen Bailey. Second Vice President, Carol Fisher. Treasurer, Cindy McLean. Solicitor, George White, and 10 additional directors, Eric Tanton, Doug McGuinness, Christian Thompson, Fran Grant, Phil Smith, Glenn McKenzie, Heidi Sponigal, Julie Taylor, Andrew Lake, and Vonda Hazard. As per our current bylaws, our outgoing president, Ron Smith, will continue to serve as past president and will be one of the 6 officers and 15 directors. I will now ask for a motion to accept the nominating committee report.
Anita McClellan.
Thank you, Anita. And a seconder?
Don Terrio.
Erin Barkley.
Thank you, Dawn. Chelsea, can you post the vote? And that motion has carried. I now declare that the election of officers and directors for the 2021-2022 chamber year be open. Members of Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce present with annual dues current are eligible to vote. Motions to cease nominations from the floor prior to the last call for nominations are out of order. The member receiving the highest number of votes for the specific officer position is elected. And members receiving the highest number of votes for the 10 directors' positions are considered elected. The Chamber Executive Director confirms that we have 32 eligible members present, and therefore we meet the quorum requirements of 25 members. The nominating committee has nominated members for the 5 officer positions and the 10 additional director positions. Are there any nominations from the floor for any of the positions of President, Vice President, Second Vice President, Solicitor, Treasurer, or for the 10 directors? For the second time, are there any nominations from the floor for any of the positions? For the third and final time, are there any nominations from the floor for any of the positions? I now ask for a motion to cease nominations.
So
It's
moved.
George, I so move.
I heard George White first. Seconder, please.
Bill Smith.
Thank you, Phil. Chelsea, can you please post the vote? And for the results, the motion is carried. Since there are no further nominations from the floor, I declare the nominated members for the positions of President as Matthew Mossman, First Vice President Karen Bailey, Second Vice President Carol Fisher, the Treasurer as Cindy McLean, Solicitor George White, and our 10 additional directors being Eric Tanton, Doug McGuinness, Christian Thompson, Fran Grant, Phil Smith, Glenn McKenzie, Heidi Sponigal, Julie Taylor, Andrew Lake, and Vonda Hazard to be elected. I declare the elections closed. Any vacancies throughout the chamber year can be filled by the approved motion by the new board. Congratulations to our new officers and board members. And now I will move the meeting back to our new president, Matthew Mossman.
Thank you, Joanne. And as president, I now bring part 2 to our AGM to order. So new business, we're going to do the swearing in of the new executive. And I'm going to ask all of our elected board to please unmute their connections. George White of Patterson Law, solicitor of the board, will do the swearing in. And I've promised George that this will go flawlessly. So here we go. George, over to you.
All right, thank you, Matthew. So we all have to work together on this one. I will start with the part of it and ask you to repeat that part and then continue to do that in segments. But when we start at the very beginning, when I do I and ask you to repeat that, then can you then say your name immediately after that? And then when I get to the part where it says execute the office of, when you repeat those words, would you then indicate what your office is? So either president, vice president, treasurer, director, and then we'll continue on reading with the rest of it. So this is going to be interesting since we're doing this with so many of us being remote, because I think everybody needs to have their mic on. And that might be quite a smash from a sound perspective. We'll see how it goes. So I think if you're ready, if you can turn your microphones on, those of you who are either officers or a director, and we'll start this. So if you repeat after me, I,
Julie Taylor,
McLean,
Mackenzie, Carol
do,
Fisher,
do solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of
Director,
solemnly affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of Director,
Treasurer,
Director.
of the Truro and Colchester Chamber
Second
of
Vice
Commerce
President of the Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce,
and will to the best of my ability
And will to
will to the best of my ability
ensure that the objects for which the chamber was constituted
ensure that the objects for which the chamber was constituted
are preserved, protected, and promoted.
are preserved, protected, and promoted.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, George. And it was nice. We got better at the second half of that. So I certainly appreciate that we were able to pull that off. I promised George that President Biden could do it. So could George. We will now continue with the incoming president's report. And first of all, I would really like to say thank you. Being president of the Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce in our 131st year and being involved in the community is not something I'd all take for granted. I am deeply humbled with this task. I would really like to thank outgoing President Ron Smith for his past 2 years in the role, especially in 2020, as we all entered into a new world with COVID-19. Ron's leadership helped guide our board, executive and staff through our plan to help businesses find answers or the right people to talk to for solutions. Like everyone else, our chamber was flying the plane while building it in 2020, but we were lucky. Ron's a terrific pilot. Sherry, you and your staff, Jessica and Chelsea, are the true blue heart of our chamber and are always looking to talk chamber with anyone and help advocate for businesses. Your determination is admired by me every day, and I look forward to our year ahead. When I look at 2021, COVID-19 has to still be a topic. Although we all would like to see it buried in the past, our chamber, and we've already done this in 2021 safely and responsibly, will try and host some events and also include the Zoom option or online networking. Businesses talking, working with each other, and coming together is an important part of a chamber, but not the only part. As businesses move forward this year, we will be here to help support, guide, and most importantly, listen. Some have asked me how my life will change today in this role. I don't believe it will. I've been involved with the chamber now for 4 years. I've grown with the chamber, wanting to dedicate time, starting out with our youth committee. And I guess when you show up consistently to meetings and don't go too far off in left field with ideas, you get asked to come back. But as much as I feel I have grown, the chamber has grown even more. Look at where we are now in our new location, with a complement of 3 full-time staff and private meeting space for members. Like any business, we need to have a plan to sustain, and sustain we must. But I and the staff will need your help, our board's help. We must look at growing our membership. To sustain, this is important. And I challenge all of us, me included, when you introduce yourself to another business person, please let them know you're with the chamber. You never know where that conversation may lead. Like any organization, we will look to kickstart committees in 2021. And although this may look like extra work for some and time, I look at it as an opportunity for us to keep the chamber in a strong position to be the voice of business for now and many years forward, when a new group of people will be leading the charge. Although Sherry has told Ron and I we are too far gone with the team to ever truly disappear. Help for business is still needed today and will be for some time. I will not have all the answers, but a wise person once said to me, you don't need to know all the answers, Matthew. You just need to know all the people who do. And we have a wonderful group of people coming on our board with experience, knowledge, and love for our community to help achieve our goals. The best gift a person can give is their time. And to our new board coming in, thank you. In closing, I have had the privilege to attend the Atlantic Chamber of Commerce AGM in St. John's, Newfoundland, and the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in St. John, New Brunswick pre-COVID. The Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce sets the bar for chambers across the country in regards to advocacy, policies, and I've seen other chambers, even some bigger than ours, ask us, well, let's be honest, Sherry, the how-to-dos. And I think when that is happening, one knows something is being done right. Thank you again. So can I please have a motion for the adoption of the incoming president's report?
Eric Tanton, motion.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that. Doug McGinnis.
Thank you, Doug. Any discussion? We have the poll up now, I believe. And ready to vote. And looks like the motion is carried. Okay, next item is the 2021 budget presentation. And I will present the budget of the Truro and Colchester Chamber of Commerce for 2021, which has already been approved by the Board of Directors at our December 2020 board meeting. And I know, Chelsea, you are going to be putting a document up on so everyone can see. Bear with us, we're getting there. Long document. Okay, here we are. We're going to start with revenues. COVID-19 had an impact on our events, obviously. They're about half, 48% of what we would have anticipated with our 2020 budget. However, we had an increase in insurance commissions of about 6% and received government funding through the wage subsidy to maintain our employment levels, which accounted for about 29% of our overall revenues. Membership fees were down slightly from budget, about 4%, but are in line with the previous year end in 2019. Due to COVID-19, we have anticipated a slight drop in membership. However, we appear to be in line with the same period as last year, which is very good news. In 2021, we have cut back our event hosting expectations. However, we do anticipate continuing to take on special projects, a push to assist with membership growth and active promotion of the Chamber's group benefit plan. Operating expenses, and I am going to just point out the advertising, because if I was to see 201% increase, I probably might say, what is that? It's a combination. We had another line of contra with Bell Media, and we've just really kind of absorbed it all into the advertising line. So that's why we're seeing such a jump with those numbers. But while we budgeted for participation in the Canadian Chamber and Atlantic Chamber AGMs, it's our belief that they'll be held virtually in 2021 due to COVID-19. So we won't be traveling this year. Depreciation shows higher than the previous year as the Chamber has moved to a new location and has new assets as a result. Also related to the move of the Chamber offices is the cost of rent and utilities, office supplies and cleaning, which for our first year will be slightly offset by a boardroom sponsorship. Due to the economic conditions of 2021 and the ample surplus the board has accumulated, the Chamber board felt comfortable in tabling a deficit budget in 2021 as shown. And Chelsea is going to scroll down. We will continue to provide 3 $1,000 scholarships and will again provide our 2,500 Legacy Award for a startup business in 2021. 2020 was the first year that the Chamber had 3 full-time employees, with our events coordinator being hired in February. This year's budget will reflect the 3 full-time staff positions remaining in place for 2021 to assist with business navigation through the pandemic. The majority of our relocation costs, such as renovations, furnishings, and a lease paydown, occurred in 2020. While there will be a few additional expenses for technology in 2021 to complete the space for our members, the relocation project has stayed on budget as approved by the board. The expenses incurred in 2020 did not come out of surplus as planned, but rather the Chamber's revenues for 2020. In 2021, we will continue to fundraise for our organization with some small events, as well as to fund the TCPEP, support tourism with special projects, and continue to seek new partnerships to help meet our budget. So with that, would like to have a motion to accept the financial report, please.
So moved, Karen Bailey.
Thank you, Karen. Do I have a seconder?
Christian Thompson.
Thank you, Christian. We're now putting the vote up. And results coming. And we are passed. Thank you. Next on the agenda is appointment of auditors. And last year, our auditors were Grant Thornton. Their performance and assistance to our board was excellent. And your board is once again recommending their appointment for the upcoming year. Will someone please move that they be reappointed?
It's George. I'll so move.
Thank you, George. Can I have a seconder of that motion, please?
Cindy McLean.
Thank you. Any discussion? We do have the poll going back up. And we will see the results. The vote is open. And the motion is now carried. The vote is passed. So without any further business, we come to the adjournment of our 131st annual general meeting. If there is no further business, this brings all the formal aspects of this meeting to a close. Can I please have a motion for adjournment?
Don Terrio.
Thank you, and I don't believe I need a second. So thank you very much, everyone. I say our meeting is now closed. Thank you for your time, everyone.
Congratulations, Mr. President. Everybody else?